Here you go, folks. Here's the annual shitty horror movie that has to cash in on Halloween. Hey everyone, it's Alexander the Real Mr. Robinson, and this is my review for Countdown, which actually came out last weekend. I'm a little late on this, but this was a movie I couldn't pass up. Or at least that's what I thought going into it. The movie is about an app that people download on their phones to see how long they have before they die. Some people get decades, some people get a couple of years, others get a couple days. And when that timer is up, they get killed. And the movie follows a young woman who recently became a nurse, as she downloaded the app, only has 2 days to live. And she doesn't believe it at first. She thinks it's absolutely ridiculous, which it is. But a lot of weird things start happening to where she eventually decides to take action and try to beat the system, pretty much. I only saw one trailer for this movie, and after that, I thought to myself, ooh, this is going to be one of those really terrible horror movies that's actually so hilarious in how bad it is. Like, I was thinking of The Bye-Bye Man or Slender Man. Or it could have been the opposite direction, like Hellfest, where it had a really great premise, but it ended up being terrible. Because let's be honest, there was no way this movie was going to be good. And I went to the movie and I'm very disappointed, actually. I'm very disappointed that this ended up being just bad. And that's actually hilarious that I went to this movie expecting it to be bad and yet disappointed that it was bad. Because there's really nothing all that entertaining about this movie. It's not a movie that takes itself so seriously that you laugh at how seriously it's taking itself. There are no real unintentionally funny moments. And it's just a very, very cliched horror movie. And the idea of this movie just sounds dumb to begin with. A killer app that lists exactly when you're gonna die, and you're gonna die at the end of that countdown no matter what happens. There could have been some potential with that idea, but the execution in this movie was just atrocious. This is pretty much a poor man's version of the Final Destination movies, where death is unavoidable no matter what. But in those movies, at the very least, there's some imaginative scenarios that leads to some pretty gruesome and inventive kills. With this movie, however, you're just watching all of these characters trying to figure out what exactly is going on and how to stop their deaths from happening. And there's not really a high body count. And the kills that are in this movie are just really lame. It's just people either dying off camera or some unknown entity just dragging them either to the side or up on the ceiling. It's just uninventive, and god damn it, how many movies do we have to see that rip off The Ring? That movie is practically 2 decades old, and I'm talking about either the Japanese version or the American version. Just stop with ripping off The Ring, guys. Move on to something else. Be original, for God's sakes. Now, I will say that the acting is not spectacular, but it is kind of decent. The main character in this movie is played by Elizabeth Lail, and she's somewhat likable. I mean, she's not that interesting of a character to begin with, but if there's one person in this whole cast that I just want to root for to survive, it would be what is essentially our final girl, even though, again, this movie doesn't really have a high body count. But all the other characters are just kind of lame, the acting's not all that good, and the biggest sin that this movie commits is trying to cram in a Me Too subplot where, look, I'm going to spoil some bits of this movie, I don't give a damn. Our main character has just been promoted from intern to a nurse, and the doctor is suddenly trying to make the moves on her, and then he suddenly turns it around where she was trying to make the moves on him, and then you have a couple of other nurses coming out and telling our main character that they went through the same experience with him and that he's got to be taken down. And it's also important to note that the doctor downloaded the app as well. He's got at least 50 years before he dies, and one of the things that the characters have to do in order to break the curse is to have somebody die before their time is up, which I'll get back to that a little later because there's a massive plot hole in the beginning of this film. But anyway, the whole Me Too subplot seems to be thrown in just to get the doctor to die and the curse be lifted, but that doesn't happen at all. They completely throw that away, and it just makes you wonder why this piece of shit had to cram in a topic that really this movie has no right in talking about at all, especially since they just abandon it. And going back to the notion of somebody dying before their time is up, the very first on-screen kill of the movie, the person dies before the timer goes off. So why did we have the rest of the movie? And they show it in the trailer. It's the girl that gets sucked up into the ceiling. You see the phone counting down to the few last seconds, but she drops to the ground at either second 2 or second 3, and she's already dead. So she died before her time went up. Why am I going off on this movie so much? I mean, to sum things up, this is not awful, it's not unwatchable, but it's just bad. Outside of the pointless Me Too subplot, there's nothing offensive about this movie, but at the same time, there's just nothing that's absolutely abysmal that's hilarious. If you want to see a truly shitty horror movie that's hilarious and how terrible it is, go watch The Bye-Bye Man. I mean, the name alone is comedy gold, but the rest of the movie is just, it's hilarious. I would love to do a drunk commentary on this movie one day, but with the countdown, just don't waste your money on it. It's not good, it's not inventive, and the ending, you could see coming a mile away. It ends in one of those, we saved the day or we defeated the demon, but uh-oh, it's back. Credits roll. That's how this movie ends. I saw that ending coming a mile away, so there's no point to really get mad at it, but in the end, it just sucks. And there you go, that's my review for The Countdown. And now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and of course leave a comment. Don't forget to support my Patreon page, follow me on social media, and until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.